Hi, I'm Bill Wiadrowski from LifeWise Pet Nutrition, and today's question comes from Marcus, who wants to know, when do I feed my dog and how often should I do it? Well, that's a really good question, because that's going to change with the age of the dog. Obviously for a puppy, or particularly a baby puppy, we might be feeding up to 4 times a day. But as the animal gets older, he needs less food, so we can gradually reduce that, so that by the time we get to being an adult, we'd be down to about once a day, and that's plenty often enough. Many people think that we should give our dogs 3 square meals a day in the same way as that we would have it ourselves, but it's certainly not necessary. The dog has evolved as a fasting animal, and it's very adaptable in terms of its food intake and can go for days without food quite happily. In fact, some professional dog people will only feed their dog 6 times a week instead of 7, allowing 1 day of fasting, and they think that this is a far healthier way to treat the animal. The amount of food that we actually give each time we do make feed them is worked out a number of different ways. One way for a dog that is a normal eater, you'd basically want to feed him to satiation, and that would be about the amount of food that the dog can eat in about 20 minutes. If he has a feed and then walks away, that's basically about it. Leave it any longer than that and he might come back and pick at it, but we think 20 minutes is around about the measure. Some animals, of course, basically inhale food, and they only take about 3 seconds to get it down, so the old 20-minute rule doesn't work so well with them. But you can always actually slow their feeding down, which is a lot healthier way of doing it. Feeding some of those bowls that have got the, what do they call them, slow feeding bowls, where they've got projections and the dog has to snuffle around in the bowl to get it. Or another alternative would be just to feed the dog in a muffin tray. Put a little bit of food in each of the holes of the muffin tray and make him work to get the food. And another even more agricultural approach to feeding the dog that's feeding would be just to throw the food across the floor and let him go around and pick it up piece by piece. And that's a good way too of slowing down the amount of food that they eat. As the dog gets older, you might like to consider increasing the number of feeds a day, particularly for an older dog where they're tending to lose muscle mass quicker than what they can put it back on. At that stage, it's really important that we try and get as much nutrition into the body, keep their condition up as well as we can under the circumstances, so that they can weather their old age just that so much better. The method that we use most here at LifeWise is Adlib feeding. In other words, food is available all the day. Well, let's face it, dogs living in a dog food factory, it's pretty hard to keep them away from food. So we just have food out for them continuously. And what they do is that they come and they eat when they want it, and they take in the amount of food that they want. Some days they won't eat at all, other days they'll eat a lot. And one of the really good things about feeding this way is that you're reducing the stress. And anything that reduces the stress on the dog's life increases his quality of life and well-being. So there you go. It's a bit of a mixed bag, this question, Marcus. I hope that answered it for you and gave you some ideas and hints as to how to go about feeding your dog. If you've got any more questions, please send them in. But until then, we'll see you next time.